Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're gonna crack a secret code. Seriously, it's the code that builds our entire world, from the video games you play to the stars in the sky. We're talking about geometry, the amazing language of shapes. So you ready? Let's dive in.
Okay, so really think about this for a sec. The world inside your favorite video game, a massive skyscraper that touches the clouds, a beautiful painting. What could they possibly have in common? Well, the answer is geometry. It's the hidden blueprint that helps us build, draw, and make sense of everything around us.
All right, so to really get a handle on this whole geometry thing, we've got to start right at the very beginning. I'm talking about the smallest, simplest building block of them all. First up, say hello to the point. Imagine you take the sharpest pencil possible and make one single tiny dot on a piece of paper. That's a point. It just marks a position in space. I mean, it's so tiny, it doesn't actually have any size. No length, no width, nothing. It's just a spot. But it's where everything begins.
Okay, so what if you take a ton of those points and line them up perfectly straight? Bam! You get a line. Now, a true geometric line is kind of like a superhero. It just keeps going forever and ever in both directions. It literally has no end.
But, in the real world, we can't really deal with things that go on forever, right? So what if we just want a piece of a line? Well, that's called a line segment. Unlike that superhero line, a line segment has a clear start and a clear stop. It has two endpoints, which means you can actually take out a ruler and measure it. And rounding out our trio of basics is the ray. A ray is kind of like a mashup of the other two. It has one starting point and end point, but then it goes on forever in just one direction. The best way to think about it is like a ray of sunshine. It has a starting point, the sun, and then it just shoots out in one direction forever. All right, so now we've got our basic players, points, lines, and rays. But things get really interesting when they start to, interact with each other. It's time to see what happens when lines hang out together. So basically, lines have two main ways of existing in the same space. First, they can be intersecting lines. This just means they cross over each other at one single point. Think of two roads crossing at an intersection. Or they can be parallel lines. Just like a set of train tracks, they run right alongside each other and they can go on forever, but they will never, ever meet. And sometimes points just love to line up. When you get 3 or more points that are all sitting on the exact same straight line, we have a special name for them. We call them collinear points. It's like if you and your buddies all stood in a perfectly straight line for a photo. You'd all be collinear. Okay, we've seen what happens when points get in a line, but what about when lines meet up? They make something totally new, and you see them everywhere. Angles. An angle is just the space, or the corner, that's created when two lines meet at a point. And yeah, just like people, angles have special relationships. They come in pairs and families. So it's time to meet some of these awesome angle families. First on our list, we've got adjacent angles. Think of them as neighbors that share a wall. For that to happen, 3 things have to be true. 1, they share the same corner, which we call a vertex. 2, they share one side, or an arm. And 3, their other 2 arms are on opposite sides of that shared one. They're literally sitting right next to each other. Hey, remember those intersecting lines from before? Well, when they cross, they create 4 angles, right? The angles that are directly across from each other, like they're staring right at each other, those have a special name. They're called vertically opposite angles. And here is the golden rule, the one thing you have to remember about them. They are always equal, no exceptions. So if one of them is 40 degrees, you automatically know the one opposite it is 40 degrees too. It's a super useful trick. Okay, next up, a super important duo, complementary and supplementary angles. Complementary angles are 2 angles that team up to add up to 90 degrees, forming a perfect right angle, like the corner of a book. Supplementary angles are 2 angles that add up to 180 degrees, making a perfectly flat straight line. And that idea of a straight line leads us right into something called a linear pair. It's basically when you have 2 angles that are neighbors, so they're adjacent, and they team up to make that perfect 180 degrees straight line. So a linear pair is both adjacent and supplementary. Whoa, okay, that was a whirlwind tour, right? But you've totally got this. So let's do a super fast recap to pack up your brand new geometry toolkit. In your toolkit, first up, the point. That single tiny position. It's where it all starts. Then you've got the line. Remember, it's that straight path that goes on forever and ever in both directions. Got 2 lines that never ever meet? Those are parallel lines. Think train tracks. And if they do cross, they're intersecting lines. and they meet at just one single point.
For angles, we've got complementary. Those are the two angles that add up to a perfect 90-degree corner.
And their bigger sibling, supplementary angles. They're the pair that adds up to a nice flat 180 degrees straight line.
And that's it. You've just learned the secret language of shapes, the code that builds pretty much everything. So now the fun part starts. I want you to look around wherever you are right now, the corner of your screen, the frame of a window. Where's the first place you can spot some of this stuff? You're going to start seeing it everywhere. Thanks so much for tuning in.